Hey guys, so if you're an outdoor enthusiast or really anybody that's just considering living on the western side of Denver, this video is a must watch because I'm doing a head-to-head comparison of two of my favorite Denver neighborhoods, Wheat Ridge and Arvada. We're gonna do 3 rounds head-to-head, and there's gonna be a winner at the end that you're not gonna wanna miss. So make sure you guys stick around. I can't wait to share this one with you. Let's go. All right, so as I said, today is gonna be kind of this 1 versus 2, a little bit of a battle of 2 neighborhoods, 2 areas in Denver. And I am really excited because these are 2 areas that I know really well. I actually grew up in one of them in Wheat Ridge. So again, we're gonna be talking about Wheat Ridge versus Arvada, and more specifically, gonna be going through 3 specific areas of comparison. First, we're gonna talk about price tag and just the inventory, what kinds of homes are available and at what price point for each of these 2 spots, Wheat Ridge and Arvada. Number 2, we're gonna talk about outdoor lifestyle. So I'm not sure where you guys might be watching from today, but good chance, I'm guessing that you're interested in Colorado and in Denver because of the outdoor lifestyle. So both of these have incredible outdoor lifestyles that they provide their residents. So excited to be sharing that as point number 2 today. And then last but not least, number 3, gonna talk just about the walkability of each of these 2 and if they have any sort of a downtown or just more of a centralized area where restaurants, bars, different locally owned and operated businesses are located. Because that tends to be one thing that a lot of my clients, as well as just other people that I talk to that are considering moving out here, see as a very important feature in wherever they choose to live. So again, we're gonna talk about all 3 of those today, and let's just jump right into it. And before we get started, as always, just make sure you guys reach out. All that info down below. I would love just to connect with you, regardless of if you're seriously considering moving here or not. I love just meeting new people and finding out their stories and why you might be considering moving out here. And I know there's some value that I can provide you. Which brings me to this point. If you are considering moving out here, I have a ton of these free guides and resources that I put a ton of effort and time into building, and I would love to share all of them with you for free. So go to adamsoulsdenver.com/helpful guides. I'll also put a QR code down below. You can download all of these there completely free, no strings attached. But one of them specifically is my relocation guide. I call it my locals guide to Denver. In this guide, I actually share 20 of my favorite neighborhoods all around Denver, my favorite restaurants, bars, parks, trails, coffee shops, farmers markets, everything. It's totally free, so make sure you guys, again, grab a free copy of these. And if you are considering buying, definitely also want to make sure you grab my buyer's guide, which has over 42 pages of really up-to-date, accurate, helpful info all about buying a home in Denver, Colorado. All right, got my spiel out of the way. Let's go ahead and get started. Talking now first about point number 1, which is price point and inventory. So starting off with Wheat Ridge, the median sales price for a home is sitting at right at around $625,000, and that takes us to about $328 per square foot. In Wheat Ridge, inventory I'm seeing still being fairly tight, even though right now we are definitely seeing a lot more of a buyer's market. And what that means is when there's more homes, more inventory out in the marketplace for people to buy, supply and demand, there's a lot of supply that gives buyers the upper hand to hopefully find a really good deal and negotiate a bit more. So in Wheat Ridge, I'm still seeing not as much inventory as other parts of the city of Denver. And I think one reason for that is in Wheat Ridge, we have a lot of families and homes that have been lived in by the same homeowner for a long period of time. There's a lot of older people, and I say older very loosely, but there's a lot of people that own homes in Wheat Ridge that have been there for a long time. And if you're a buyer, hopefully some of these are gonna start to hit the marketplace in the next few years as these homeowners currently transition into assisted living or maybe into a smaller ranch style home where they don't have to go up and down stairs. So in Wheat Ridge, you definitely have some great opportunities to buy these kind of value add type properties, meaning homes that are somewhat in their original condition still. And if you're somebody that's a little bit, good with your hands and want to put some sweat equity into your house, this is one of my favorite parts of Denver to identify these types of properties. So definitely a lot of opportunity when it comes to Wheat Ridge. Since the city of Wheat Ridge typically does have a bit older of homes, you're gonna see a lot of the mid-century modern. You are also gonna see quite a few ranch styles. And one of my favorite things about Wheat Ridge is the lot sizes tend to be a little bit bigger as well, since they were developed a significant amount of time ago. You'll find a lot of homes in Wheat Ridge that were built in the 40s and 50s, but you will still find a few little pockets where they are newer built communities. But again, just going back to the point that in Wheat Ridge, you have a lot of opportunity for value add and for identifying and finding these homes that you could get at a good price, and then also reinvest some additional money into making it your own and updating some of the key parts of the home to match what you're looking for exactly. And then now, before we move on to talk about Arvada, I just want to make one final point on Wheat Ridge, and that is that you will still find some very significantly higher priced homes as well in Wheat Ridge. You know, I've even seen some homes in the past couple weeks hit the market for well over $1.5 million. So you do still have homes in Wheat Ridge that can be pushing that multi-million-dollar price point. But overall, I would say that that $600,000 to $650,000 median sales price is pretty accurate. All right, so now let's switch over and talk about Arvada for a second. So Arvada had just a slightly higher median sales price. It was actually at $642,000. But something that's very important to also take note of is the price per square foot is actually lower despite having a higher median sales price. So $625 in Wheat Ridge, $642 in Arvada. Wheat Ridge had an average price per square foot of $328 per square foot. Arvada, however, sits at only $283 a square foot. So what that tells us is that in Arvada, you're gonna find homes that are a bit larger. And I'd say that part of that does have to do with the location of Arvada when it comes to zoning. There's a good chunk of Arvada that actually sits in this really cool, kind of a hidden thing that a lot of the people don't know about until they get out here. And that is Arvada, a big chunk of it is in unincorporated Jefferson County. So anytime you're in an unincorporated county, what that typically means that are positives is that you're gonna have lower tax rates and also a lot of times less restrictions when it comes to the use of the property. So you're gonna find a lot of homes in Arvada in comparison to Wheat Ridge that have zoning that actually allows, for example, working from home. So you might have a neighbor that has a workshop in his garage and he's legally allowed to have that due to the unincorporated zoning that exists in that part of Arvada. So the benefit of that is if you do maybe work from home or you want a place that's less restrictive, this could be a great option. I'm gonna play devil's advocate though and say that one negative to this is you might have this beautiful home you purchase and the house next door has been a great neighbor. Maybe they end up selling their house and the new person that moves in all of a sudden has this big workshop from their home. It's noisy, loud equipment, lots of traffic coming and going. So there's some stuff like that that could down the road be a little bit of a negative if you're not aware of it. So there are pros and cons to that. But overall, when we talk just about the comparison of Wheat Ridge to Arvada, Wheat Ridge, I would say the majority of the homes are those mid-century modern type homes from the 1940s and 50s, usually a little bit larger lot size, but the square footage of the home itself tends to be maybe a little bit smaller than Arvada. Now comparing that with Arvada, you're gonna be finding a little bit larger homes, usually still probably the similar size of lot size, so a little bit larger still in Arvada as well when comparing it to other places like Denver, where you're in a lot more of a urban type environment. But also you're gonna find homes in Arvada that are similar age, but also significantly more options for new build communities and just newer developments. If you are looking at those newer development areas, just keep in mind that if you are in certain spots that have been just built, you might find out that your property tax value or your property tax rate, I should say, is higher. The average in all of Denver is 0.6 of an annual property tax rate. So if your home gets assessed at $500,000, you're looking at about $2,500 as your annual property taxes. Some of these newer communities in Arvada, you might be at 1.5% of the property tax. So almost 3 times the same dollar amount. So that $500,000 home, instead of $2,500 annual property taxes, you might be looking at $7,000 or $7,500. Pretty significant difference. So keep that in mind because that can be a deciding factor for a lot of people when they're comparing Wheat Ridge and Arvada and some of the other surrounding neighborhoods. Before moving on, I do also just want to share with you guys, I just helped some clients buy this awesome house in Arvada that is an area that I did not know a whole lot about until I started spending a lot of time up there. And it's in an area called Layden Rock. And Layden Rock is kind of on the northwestern side of Arvada. What I love about that specific part of Arvada, you're a lot closer to the western slopes. You have great views, not only looking a little bit south towards Golden, but you can actually also look further north and see Boulder, see the Flatirons, which are super impressive and beautiful. And you just have a very cool, unique view of the mountains, which is obviously a great perk to have anywhere when you're living in Denver. You also have a very convenient kind of a back way to get into Boulder utilizing Highway 93, which you tend to, not use as often if you live in a lot of the other parts of Denver, where more typically you're going to use a lot busier road known as Highway 36. So you have this kind of extra bonus of having a different alternative way to get to Boulder, which you're probably going to want to do if you live in Arvada, because Boulder is also an awesome place to spend time. Okay, so rounding out this first point, Arvada versus Wheat Ridge, which one wins in this first category of price point and inventory? I'm going to give it to Wheat Ridge. And the reason I'm giving it to Wheat Ridge is I'm speaking specifically to anybody watching that is a little bit handy with, projects and doing some stuff themselves. If that's you, then I think Wheat Ridge is one of the best in the entire state of Colorado, because you have these opportunities for value add and opportunities for fixer-uppers. Homes that are still in great condition, but just a little bit dated. These are some of the best homes to purchase at a good price point and significantly increase its value by doing some of these projects yourself. So if that's you, I think Wheat Ridge without a doubt takes the cake. If you're not that type of person and you maybe are looking for more new build communities, turnkey, stuff that you don't have to deal with, I think Arvada might be the best. So I know I'm kind of giving you both here, but in my opinion, I'm giving round one to Wheat Ridge. All right, so now let's just jump right into number two. Second thing we're going to be comparing is going to be outdoor lifestyle. Wheat Ridge and Arvada both have some of the best outdoor lifestyles, in my humble opinion, as a 42-year Colorado and Denver native. So I'm going to start off with Wheat Ridge. So in Wheat Ridge, we have an awesome park that I grew up actually spending a lot of time in, because I went to Wheat Ridge High School. Right across the street from Wheat Ridge High School is Crown Hill Park, and Crown Hill is also the name of a cemetery in Wheat Ridge. It's actually where one set of my grandparents are buried. And this Crown Hill Park that's adjacent to the cemetery, you don't see the cemetery when you're at the park or anything. It's a beautiful park called Crown Hill. And this is just be one little example of some of these parks and outdoor activities that are available right in the actual city of Wheat Ridge. Crown Hill is about 242 acres, very safe and just a pleasant place to take your dog for a walk after work, or I see a ton of people out running at the daybreak before it's even really light out as I drive myself to the gym that's right around the corner from here. So there's just a lot of outdoor lifestyle opportunities in Wheat Ridge. What I really want to talk about with Wheat Ridge is not specifically the parks that are available to you in Wheat Ridge, but for outdoor lifestyle, what takes the cake for me with Wheat Ridge is its direct, easy access and proximity to I-70, which is our major east and west highway that'll take you straight to the mountains. When you live in Wheat Ridge, you literally have probably a 20 to 40 minute jump start, a head start on any other Denverites driving up to the mountains, and you just are able to get in front of all that traffic, especially on a weekend morning, for example, in the wintertime to go skiing. So if you're just doing a day trip to go skiing, let's just say you're going to Winter Park, which typically can take about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes from Denver, from Wheat Ridge, I should say. You're able to, get on the road at 5:30 or maybe 6 a.m. That way you're getting up to the mountain with enough time to kind of leisurely get your gear on and maybe grab a cup of coffee before the lifts start turning. Let's just say you live out in Southeast Aurora or somewhere further away. Instead of getting up and on the road at maybe 5:30 or 6, you might be needing to get up a full hour earlier just because of that extra time it's going to take you to get to where you'd be starting if you lived in Wheat Ridge. So if you are somebody that likes to go up to the mountains, I think being on the western side of town in a place like Wheat Ridge is one of the best features and best reasons to choose to live on the western side of town. But it's not just about getting all the way up to the mountains for big activities like skiing and mountain biking. Even if you're just trying to get up and go somewhere after work, you're really close and actually adjacent to another pocket of homes in a neighborhood called Applewood, which is just directly between Wheat Ridge and Golden. Applewood and Golden have some amazing hikes that you can do within a 5 or 10 minute drive usually from where you live in Wheat Ridge. And these are things you can do after work on a weeknight. So if outdoor lifestyle is really important to you, you not only have the ability to be close to stuff that's an hour or two from you, but also all the stuff that's just right out your back door. Not only that, you also have Red Rocks Amphitheater. It's the best place in the world to go see live music, but there's also a ton of great mountain biking and hiking trails that you could also just go to after work or just, anytime really, but just be able to get an access to those areas with a very, very short drive from wherever you live in Wheat Ridge. All right, so obviously I love Wheat Ridge for its outdoor lifestyle. Now let's talk about Arvada, because this is a really good matchup. Both of these have great outdoor lifestyles that they provide their residents. Arvada, I'm going to talk now about two specific things that I think really make it a valuable place to consider for the outdoor lifestyle. So number one, just kind of similar to Wheat Ridge, it's on the western side of town. It's a little bit to the north of Wheat Ridge, but depending on exactly where the home might be located, you're gonna have a very similar time to get to not only the ski areas, but even to go hiking in places like Golden and Applewood that I just mentioned. So these are both actually very similar when it comes to its location, since they are both on the western side of town. Boulder, though, being another awesome place for outdoor activities, especially cycling and just the culture of the type of people that Boulder really produces, because it's such a healthy, active lifestyle city. Since you are a little bit closer to Boulder from Arvada, it could be as little as a 15 or 20 minute drive, especially if you're living up in that Layden Rock area on the northwestern side of Arvada. So there's definitely a lot of outdoor lifestyle options for both Arvada and Wheat Ridge. But with Arvada, I think if you're a cyclist, this might take the cake and maybe edge out Wheat Ridge. So Arvada is actually an officially designated bicycle-friendly community. So long story short, there are a ton of trails available if you are into cycling and you live in Arvada. I think one of my favorites is actually going from Arvada to the Clear Creek Trail, which you can also access pretty easily from Wheat Ridge. And that'll take you right through that Applewood area towards Golden. And they're building an amazing new multi-use area directly next to Lutheran Hospital, which is our brand new hospital that just got relocated from a different location in Wheat Ridge just about a year and a half ago. And now they're building out all of this cool stuff all around it, including one of the best fitness centers in the entire country known as Lifetime Fitness, as well as a few different kind of like a food hall type restaurant. There's also a couple bars that are being built right now. And what they're doing is that entire area that all this stuff is located in will all be an open carry kind of environment. So you can walk with your beer that you bought at one of the places, and you can just take it and walk around and kind of go over to somewhere else. And then just everything is almost like a Las Vegas type style where you can have open carry and just kind of meander around this designated area. Something that's pretty cool. Whether you live in Wheat Ridge or Arvada, you can have access to this easily from either of these places. The last spot I'm going to mention before we close out this second matchup of outdoor lifestyle, in Arvada, you have Stanley Lake. Stanley Lake would be kind of like the equivalent of Crown Hill, which is what Wheat Ridge offers. Stanley Lake is a similar lake with a nice trail all around it. And what I love about Stanley Lake is it has some awesome views, again, all the way looking out west from down south to the Golden area, all the way up a little bit further north to seeing the Boulder Flatirons. So you just have this really, really cool, very unique view. And on top of all of that, you have this really small, intimate little multi-use development called Five Parks. And Five Parks has one of my favorite restaurants and coffee shops called Jack's Sports Bar and Steamer's Coffee House. If you guys followed my videos and have watched some of the others that I put out recently, I've shared a little bit more about this in those videos. I won't go into too much depth, but I have a sister with special needs, and she actually worked at this amazing restaurant slash coffee shop, Steamers, for several years, and they employ a ton of special needs adults, and they create this really, really yummy jam and jelly. They sell it at farmers markets as well as at the actual coffee shop and sports bar. And it just is a very community-based, very local type area, and that's right next to Stanley Lake. So definitely, if you guys are considering Arvada and you're up in that Stanley Lake area, go check out Steamer's Coffee Shop and Jack's Sports Bar and Grill. You guys will definitely not be disappointed. All right, so closing out this second matchup of outdoor lifestyle, Wheat Ridge versus Arvada, which one wins on this second matchup? I'm gonna give outdoor lifestyle to Arvada. And I'm gonna give it to Arvada only for the reason that it just is a little bit better when it comes to views, in my opinion. Some of the best areas for outdoor lifestyle in the Wheat Ridge area, I really think are kind of more in that Applewood area. So they are kind of Wheat Ridge, but really they're more Golden than they are Wheat Ridge. The big deciding factor there is a road called Youngfield. Anything that's just a little bit on the other side of Youngfield from Wheat Ridge, it's really gonna be more in that Applewood going into Golden area. So just to be kind of nitpicky on exactly where some of this outdoor lifestyle is located, I'm gonna give this one to Arvada because actually in Arvada, you have a ton of cool stuff available and at your fingertips. And I definitely think that you also have a few more kind of unknown, lesser known about kind of local secret spots for trails and different areas that you can really go, especially if you're a dog owner and you want to take your dog off leash, where you're really not gonna be able to find that in Wheat Ridge or really in many other places surrounding the entire Denver metro area that you have in places like Arvada, where you're just a little bit further removed and you have this direct, easy access to some of these areas like Clear Creek Canyon and to some of that back road that I was mentioning that takes you up to Boulder. So lots of good stuff on both Wheat Ridge and Arvada, but Arvada, you won this round. All right, and then let's just jump right into number 3, which is going to be kind of walkability and kind of like downtown offerings that each of these two have. So with Wheat Ridge, walkability and like a downtown type area really aren't living up to too much expectations. They really don't have a whole lot when it comes to a downtown area. There's definitely a lot of stuff on the horizon, but unfortunately right now we're still in the kind of putting up with it phase where there's a lot of construction, just a lot of additional traffic, and more of a pain in the butt than anything. And you really can see a lot of that in Wheat Ridge right now, all along Wadsworth. So in Wheat Ridge, and really in Arvada as well, we have a few different major roads that go north and south. And the 3 that I take on almost a daily basis, even down in Littleton where I live, which is further south, is Kipling, which is the furthest to the west. And then you have Wadsworth, and then you have Sheridan. All 3 of these are, going north to south, tons of stuff they offer. And if you're in Wheat Ridge, there's definitely some stuff happening where in 10 years from now, there's gonna be a lot of cool walkability with some of these new mixed use developments where you have apartments and condos up top with different restaurants and bars and coffee shops and food trucks, all kinds of stuff like that down on the main level. So a lot of stuff in the works, but as of right now, pretty minimal. So now let's compare this with Arvada, which has an incredible little mini downtown called Old Town Arvada. So when I have people like yourselves that reach out on YouTube that want to come out and explore some of the different areas in Denver, and they specifically ask me about what are some of the best walkability type neighborhoods, Old Town Arvada is almost always on my list to share with them because it really does have kind of that complete mini downtown vibe that you don't find really in that many other areas surrounding Denver. What I love about Old Town Arvada is you have this big water tower. You can see it from anywhere pretty much that you're in Arvada. You can see this Old Town Arvada water tower. So it's a very good focal point to know which direction where downtown's located. But it also has kind of that city center. Some of the streets surrounding the downtown part of Arvada are pedestrian only, so you have a little bit more flexibility with just walking around and feeling safe, and a lot of locally owned and operated businesses. What I also though really love about this Old Town downtown part of Arvada is just past this downtown specific area. A lot of this is in that unincorporated Jefferson County area. So you'll find some really cool, eccentric, flower gardens, different types of shops that you can go out and buy maybe like a metalworking thing for your backyard. Or there's just a lot of eccentric, very creative and cool opportunities to check out some of these businesses that surround that old downtown, old town area of Arvada. And the last thing that I'll close out with on this point is accessibility to public transportation. right at where this big Old Town Arvada water tower is that I've been talking about. There's also a light rail system that runs right through here. Light rail is our public transit system it's like a bus, but on a rail system. And it comes right here. This is one of the best, most efficient and effective hubs to catch the G line of light rail. And this will actually take you to a straight shot to Union Station, which is in downtown Denver. So if you are potentially somebody that's still going to be commuting to the downtown part for work, you have a very convenient, easy way just from your house, maybe just walk or take your bike over to the station, jump on the light rail. You don't have to deal with any of the parking issues in downtown Denver, and just a very efficient, very kind of fun way to commute in and out of downtown. So that's definitely another thing that this walkability and just this downtown part of Arvada offers that Wheat Ridge doesn't. So as you can maybe tell on this one, after all this stuff I've been sharing with you about Old Town Arvada, without a doubt, Arvada takes the cake when it comes to walkability. Just so much more to offer, a lot more restaurants, bars, just a lot more walkability. So without a doubt, they take the cake on this third comparison point of walkability. All right, so there you have it. We had 3 very contentious type points. We talked again about just the price point of homes and what the inventory of those homes is in both Wheat Ridge and Arvada. Then we also talked about the outdoor lifestyle for both. And we talked about, last but not least, walkability and kind of the downtown type vibe that each of these offered its residents. So with round 1 talking about price point, we edged this one out to Wheat Ridge. Then with round 2 with the outdoor lifestyle, this one was very, very close, but Arvada edged out on this one and took the W, took the win. So we're at 1-1. But last but not least, with the walkability, Arvada took the cake on that one. So out of these 3 rounds, I'm giving it to Arvada. And I grew up in Wheat Ridge, so I'm a little bit biased and I'm a little bit, hurt and disappointed to have to pick something else other than my former home of Wheat Ridge. But I just want to leave it with this. Both are incredible, really, of all different aspects to choose and at least consider diving a little bit deeper in and hopefully learning a little bit more about. So hope you guys got some value out of this one. I know it was a little bit different. I love doing some of these comparison type videos of 2 neighborhoods that are similar but still have their unique pros and cons. And this is a great example of that. Wheat Ridge and Arvada, 2 of the best places in my opinion to consider living. Definitely live on the western side of town if you can, if you are somebody that loves the outdoors and loves that more direct, easy access to get out and still enjoy doing stuff, even on weeknights, even after a long day of work, being able to still be out and enjoy Mother Nature and enjoy the reason why so many of us decide to continue living here in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado. Before we get out of here, one last plug, all that info down below. Again, feel free to reach out. And I'm actually now doing a monthly free online webinar. It's a home buyer masterclass for Denver, Colorado. Talk about all kinds of valuable information, including just what's going on, some of the actual statistics and real numbers for the data for what's actually happening in the Denver market, but then also just sharing some of the strategies that real buyers are doing today to still succeed and get great deals and win in this pretty unique and challenging market. So I would love for you guys to attend the next one. Again, it's totally free, but seats are limited. So click the link down below in the show notes or just go to webinar.adamsoulsdenver.com. You can see when the next one is happening and hopefully you guys can grab a ticket and I'll see you there. And with that, I'm going to close this one out. So thank you guys so much for another episode of Living in Denver, for sticking around with me and learning more about these 2 very special areas, Wheat Ridge and Arvada. If you guys are also curious about some of the other best neighborhoods in all of Denver, don't forget, I have a completely free Locals Guide to Denver. It's got over 20 of my favorite neighborhoods all over town. Restaurants, bars, parks, coffee shops, farmers markets, everything you can think of. It's all completely free and I share it with you guys in this guide. Click the link in the show notes so you guys can get a free copy of it. I really hope you guys do. But with that, let's get out of here. Have a great rest of your day and I'll see you next week on an all new episode of Living in Denver. I'll see you then. Bye.